Good afternoon, it's Tony again from Paranormal Investigation UK. Today's date is still the 25th of January 2022, and today we're looking at some footage from June. I was tempted to exclude this, but for reasons for completeness, and particularly for those that have been following this case closely, I think it's only right that I do touch on this subject very quickly before I move on to the main piece of footage that's come in. So before the June events, the last date that we had was the 26th of May, which turned out to be nothing more than a really crawling insect over the actual lens. But we did have a series of 6 bangs, unexplained bangs, on the 23rd of May. We then jump forward then to the 12th of June, that's some weeks after. Now, anybody that's investigating this types of possible poltergeist activity, because we've had this case since May 2020, so the case is about a year old, it's over a year old when this actually came in. And I don't know a case yet which doesn't have occasions when you have nothing, no activity for a number of weeks. It just seems to flatline, and then it takes off again, and you get a busy period for a couple of weeks, then it flatlines again. It's always shown this, and certainly initially with Chester, we had, as we moved into June, July of 2020, we seem to have had a pattern developing of 10 days of activity, 3 days of nothing, 10 days of activity, 3 days of nothing, and then it completely evolved again, and it began to get quite sporadic. So what we actually had in the June time was a series of alerts that came up, and I'll show you this one. See this light here. Let me go back. So there's nothing on there at all. I've gone through the audio, so the light goes out. And we had a number of these, and it comes on again in a few seconds later on within the same footage. There. So, because we had so many, I asked the owner to investigate the outside of the buildings, what the possible cause it could be. And it turned out that across there's a roadway, and then there's a creche facilities where people leave the young children at the creche, childcare really, do the work in one of the other buildings, and then go back, pick the kids up. And what they'd actually done, they'd fitted a sensor light. So the light would come on, which is exactly what happened here in the early hours. Now we had a number of these. So it's come on and it's gone back out again. Now the sensor lights, particularly those outside, can be a little bit unreliable as far as things that trigger it, like a fox or a rabbit animal. We've had rabbits around here with certain squirrels, that type of thing. Any of these will be enough to trigger the camera, and that's what it was. So what I was able to do then is update the report to say that there we are. On the empty room, it was noted that CCTV alarms occurred during the early hours, and when analysed, it became clear that light outside was the cause of the alarms, and due to the business opposite, fitting a new security light was activated by movement. So we were able to rule that one out completely. So I thought I very quickly would cover that particular event for reasons for completeness, really, that we often come across. And any subsequent ones, we simply just, I've asked the owner to just, not to send them in, discount it. So that one's actually going to go into the folder called negative. So we can forget about that one. So we're now on to movie 348. Because I'm looking at this some 8 or 9 months after the event, we've never been able to come to a satisfactory conclusion what happened here. Now, very early on, because what normally happens with these cameras, either a visual change in the environment or a noise that changes the environment, because obviously the cameras are fitted with microphones, alerts the camera, and that alert normally occurs between 3 and 5 seconds into the footage, and then the rest of the footage really is down to the fact that it captures a further 55-56 seconds. In principle, the CCTV, because it's dark, should the infrared light should have emitted come on. It will only go out during the hours of daylight when the room is sufficiently lit, and what you actually see then is the colour of the actual room itself. Once it gets dark, the infrared light comes on automatically, stays on, and any events then is captured within the infrared. The reason why it's in grayscale. Very early on, within a second or so, there's a bang. I'll play that now for you. Just turn the volume up a touch. That appears to what have triggered the camera, but it's it's almost coming to the end of its frequency. But the camera infrared light hasn't engaged for some reason. So it's certainly not, I'm confident it's not alerted because of a visual. It's as in fact alerted because of that sound, although I'd expect it to have been 2 to 3 seconds in rather than immediately. So I'm not sure what's gone wrong there, and I don't understand why the infrared hasn't been engaged anyway. It's not, they don't come on when it alerts, they're on permanently in the hours of darkness. And we're left with this here. Obviously the green, that's the fire door there, so obviously it's got the green light above. This is just the white light of the pavement cameras outside, and it's got like a bluey colour here. I'm not too sure what that is. It could be mixtures of the colours that's caused it, because there seems to be a little bit of a flash here as well of blue. A bit weird and strange. I can just see the back wall there. There's a light shines through the window. So what I do need to do is note down the fact that the camera didn't alert its hadn't engaged its infrared. And the problem we have with this is that when it came in, it never happened again. Because we're now in January 2022, this was in June of 2021, it only happened on this one occasion. So is it down to some problem with the camera, that it's been lagging behind, some problem with it where it didn't, it hadn't engaged its infrared, and plus, for some strange reason, the sound is right at the beginning. So what I'm actually going to do with this footage is, there's nothing more I can do with this. I just don't know what's caused that infrared not to light up on the camera, because we really should have been looking at that grayscale. So what I'm actually going to do is just take a screenshot of that, shut that one down, and we're going to go open up Mixcraft. I'm actually going to bring the footage into there, and we'll look all the way through. So I'll turn the volume up a bit, make sure there's nothing else that we're missing, and just really analyse if it's the only thing that we've got is that bang at the beginning. So it's a bit of a strange one, really, and you've always got to be careful that you don't start putting paranormal labels on something that where you've got no evidence to support it, and I've got no evidence to support it whatsoever. So there's the actual bang itself. There doesn't appear to be any other sound. So what we will do, I'll switch that on anyway, and I'm just going to turn it up a touch. Just give it a little bit of volume just to see if we can get any clues from this. I don't know what that is. One thing that's been noticeably missing from this building, certainly over recent times, is, unless there's something in the backlog file for me to find, a distinct lack of any form of electronic voice phenomena. We had a lot of it through 2020 into 2021, then it seems to just dried up. Okay. What you'll notice when I was on this camera is the audio ends about 1.5 seconds before. I mentioned on a one recently where the actual audio was right up to the actual footage itself. The audio was lagging behind by 1.5 seconds. That's called latency. We had this in the main office itself, and I think because the cameras have been replaced with technology's moved on, and they're a little bit better quality, the audio is is synchronized to the video itself. On this one, it is not. It's 1.5 seconds behind. So if the audio is 1.5 seconds behind, then that may explain the reason why that's there and not here. So it's a possibility. So let's have a look at this this bang. What is it? We must also remember this is at 4:05 in the morning on the 19th of June, which would be a Saturday. So it's Saturday morning at 4:05 in the morning. It almost sounds like somebody woodwork, sort of hitching wood. Let me turn it up a little bit more so you can hear it. It sounds like a hammer onto wood. Don't know what your thoughts are. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it back down because I want to take a frequency. I do try and keep the sound at normal volume, not enhanced in any way. I think there may be enough there just to get a frequency hit on this. Yeah. Okay, go to average. So the frequencies actual span of this is relatively long. It's around about, say, 400, just over 1,000 hertz. It is a strange one. Okay, so we've got that. So what is it? There's basically no wood in the building. The roof itself is open plan. Is a steel frame built structure, including the actual floor itself, which is concrete. So it's completely steel frame with brickwork on the outside, bees blocks on the inside, well insulated with plasterboard as the walls are on there. So certainly all the beams and everything within the roof space, which is what I looked at when I did the sound samples tests in 2021, other than 60 of them, there is no wood of any description. It's all steel. I don't know what this is. Sounds like someone hitting woodworking at something like 4 o'clock in the morning. Very, very strange. The building was deserted, so all I can do is write that up, give the explanation of, well, it's not an explanation, it's just really reporting the fact that the infrared on the light on the actual CCTV camera hadn't engaged for some reason. The sound is lagging behind by 1.5 seconds. The bang is what turned the camera alert on. And had it not been lagging behind, it would have been about 3 seconds in. So I don't know. If you have any ideas what that could be, I have no idea. But this is, again, just another head scratcher from this particular building where we're getting unexplained noises with no rational explanation. Because if you're in this building and you're in bed, that's going to wake you up. And I've got no volume on that at all. No amplification. Okay, so that's that one. See you on the next movie.